All right, let's talk about something every professional driver deals with: oversized load permits. You know the drill. When you're hauling big, that permit is your lifeline. And look, getting the measurements right, it's not just about filling out some paperwork. It's about keeping your load legal, keeping everyone safe, and most importantly, keeping you moving down the road. So we're going to break down exactly how to nail those numbers every single time.
Okay, let's get one thing straight right from the start. If your permit has the wrong measurements, it's not just a simple mistake, it's completely invalid. That piece of paper is worthless. So what happens if you get pulled over? Well, you're looking at huge fines, serious delays, and a headache you just don't need. And guess who that risk falls on? Yep, it's all on you, the driver.
So that brings up a really important question. Who's actually on the hook for what's on that permit? Is it your company? The state permit office? Nope, not a chance. The buck stops with you. Getting these measurements right starts and ends with the person sitting in that driver's seat.
So what does that responsibility look like? Well, your duties here are pretty specific, and trust me, they're non-negotiable. First off, you've got to have that permit in hand before you even think about crossing a state line. And since you're the one providing the measurements, they've got to be 100% accurate. Then, you need to print it, sign it, and have that physical copy with you. Now, some states are cool with digital, but listen up. It has to be on a screen that's at least 8.5 inches. That little cell phone in your pocket? Nope, that's not going to cut it.
Look, if you take away just one thing from this, let it be this. If the measurements are wrong, you have an invalid permit, and it is your responsibility. That says it all, right? The permit is useless, and the fallout lands right in your lap. So, with that in mind, let's actually get into the nitty-gritty of how to do this correctly.
All right, time to get practical. Let's roll up our sleeves and talk about the first big measurement you have to master: the axle spacings. Now, I know this can seem a little intimidating at first, but honestly, there's a super simple method to nail it every single time.
Here's the easiest way to do it. Just grab something you can see, an oversized flag, a stick, whatever you've got. Walk alongside your rig and drop a marker on the ground right in line with the center of the hub for each axle. Putting everything on the ground first just makes it so much easier to measure. Once your markers are down, you just run your tape measure from the first marker to the second to the third, and you just keep going for the whole rig. So, what happens if your tape measure is too short? You know, you've got a big gap between axles. Hey, no problem at all. Don't sweat it. Just measure a section, drop another marker right where your tape ends, and then measure the next section from that new marker. You just add A plus B, and boom, you've got your total distance. It's really that simple.
Okay, so we've got our axle spacings all sorted out. Now let's move on to two more absolutely critical numbers: the overall length, and then the big one, the one that seems to trip everybody up, the kingpin to rear axle measurement.
Overall length is pretty straightforward, thankfully. It's exactly what it sounds like, right? It's the full distance from the very front of your truck's bumper all the way to the very back of the trailer, or the load. No guesswork here. This number is required on every single permit.
Okay, before we tackle that next measurement, let's make sure we're all on the same page about the kingpin. You know what it is. It's that big, heavy-duty pin under the front of your trailer that locks into the fifth wheel on the truck. That's what connects the whole rig and creates your pivot point.
And here we go. This is the one, the measurement that gets everybody confused. But I promise you, once you see what you're actually measuring, it's really not that bad. So let's clear up the confusion around the kingpin to rear axle measurement right now.
It's just a straight line. That's it. You measure from the center of that kingpin all the way back to the center of the hub of the very last axle on your trailer. And listen, this isn't optional. Every single state demands this measurement. Why? Because that specific distance determines how your rig is going to handle turns. It's absolutely critical for getting around corners and over bridges safely. All right, let's get into a pro tip. What happens if your trailer has sliding axles? You know, the tandems that can move forward and back? This is where you have to be extra careful, because it changes things and you have to be ready for it before you even think about ordering that permit. Here's the deal. If your axles slide, you don't have one kingpin to rear axle measurement. You have two. So first, you measure it with the tandem slid all the way forward in the closed position. Then, you slide them all the way to the back, to the open position, and you take that measurement all over again. So the key here is to have both of those numbers, the closed and the open, written down and ready to go. When you call to order the permit, you have to tell them exactly which position you're going to be running for that trip. They're going to issue the permit based on that one specific measurement, and you absolutely have to stick to it. Whew, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, right? From axle spacings to the tricky sliding tandems. So let's wrap this all up with a really simple, clear checklist so you know you've got everything you need before you roll.
Okay, here it is, your final checklist. The 3 measurements you have got to master. Number 1, axle spacing. That's center of hub to center of hub. Number 2, overall length. Super easy, front bumper to the very back. And number 3, kingpin to rear axle. From the kingpin to the center of that last hub. You get these 3 right, and you are good to go.
And we're going to end exactly where we started, with the single most important rule of all. Burn this into your brain every time you hook up to an oversized load. Getting these numbers right isn't just a good idea, it's your professional responsibility. So measure twice, haul once, and stay safe and legal out there on the road.